Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the 1874 podcast. It's great to be back. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Starting us off with Episode 1 is Arthurlie Amateurs manager Stephen Connelly. Stephen, thank you for coming on today, mate.
Good to be here, Tim.
I appreciate it. Just thought it was right to have you on after having first team manager and the 20s manager, and we'll just get it all out there. That's the three managers on. They've got their space to say it. I'm not leaving anybody out. Not only is Stephen the amateurs manager, he's a vital part of Arthurlie FC as well. He's a groundsman. If you see on social media the work that Stephen does to get the pitch up to scratch for most of the games, it's all down to him. And he's a committee member as well. It might be a hard kind of thing for you to be a committee member because you don't get to see a lot of your games, is because you're usually kicking off at the same time as us, aren't you? So.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we're obviously going to go on and speak quite a bit about that, but yeah, since I've became involved in the kind of coaching side of things, then yeah, my role's certainly changed. I don't see really any of the games.
Well, hopefully in the next couple of, Wednesday night, hopefully Clydebank, you'll get time off your work and come and see us. So before we move on to that, we're just going to do a couple of shout outs. Firstly to G4 Claims, who studio will be used. Thank you very much for helping us out, giving us the premises and everything you do to help us with editing and stuff like that. I appreciate it. If you're looking for help with claims or anything, it's no fee, so get looking at them. G4 Claims, I'll leave a link. You can see them, you know it by now, they're everywhere. You're seeing them sponsoring some football teams and stuff like that as well, so thanks very much, guys. Another shout out for Aaron Healy. Thank him for everything he's done for Arthurlie. He didn't get to say his goodbye to us, did he? He's scored the goal against Beith, and that turned out to be his last game, unfortunately. He's went away inside for Queen's Park, which is some jump. He's went for playing like tier 6, I think, weren't we, to top of the championship. Best of luck, wee man. I know you'll go and smash it. Incidentally, his podcast has now went to nearly 1,200 likes, 1,200 views, sorry, which is phenomenal. I just want to thank everybody that's watched it or downloaded it and listened to it. Thanks very much, guys. I really appreciate that. Next one is a bit of bad news. Dave Mackay having to retire. Another guy who was on the podcast, and a great story. I think I jinxed him actually, because we're talking about getting back and his broken leg and stuff, and he's went and broke it again. The doctor says he can't play, but best of luck in retirement, mate. I hope you're not a stranger at Arthurlie, and especially with a young family now. You get the wee guy down to the games and stuff like that. All the best, mate. A couple of happy birthdays, I think, during the time we were off. We've not been here for Vancy, I think it was start of December, so happy birthday to Scooby and Gummy. All the best, guys. Gummy obviously been on the podcast as well. Scooby, you're coming on, mate. I'm going to get you on somehow. Matthew, your number one fan, is choking to hear your story, mate. So get your arse on.
Just when you say that, Tim, I'm Matthew. That was his Halloween costume. He dressed up as Scooby.
There you go. I mean, the guy adores him, and I think he'd love to hear his story. I think quite a few people want to hear your story as well, mate. So I know your big pal John Connelly is always on Facebook and Twitter talking you up, and get one, please. And just thanks everybody for all your views and downloads and likes and shares and subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much. You're helping the podcast grow. As I said, we're now on to season 2, and hopefully it gets bigger and better as we go on. Thanks very much, guys. Keep liking, sharing, subscribing. So that's all that out of the way, mate. Now it's your turn to be scrutinised, and I'll let you do all the talking now, mate. Obviously you've been about Arthurlie for quite a number of years. Just tell me your backstory, how, like, growing up, did you play any football in the area for any teams or anything, and then how did you get involved into being part of Arthurlie? Did you start off as a fan or whatever, blah blah? take it away.
Yeah, so in the really early years, I think that any young boy or even girl now, round about a couple of teams and playing on and off, maybe 7, 8, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, but it became quite clear that it was going to be an on and off thing, so didn't really go any further. Maybe after 12, 13, 14 at the kind of oldest. After that, I was never really going to play.
Right.
In terms of Arthurlie, my family's always kind of been supporters of the club, and then as I got older, then I was always taken to games. My uncle Ed, who ended up on the committee, a president,
right,
of the club. Him and my dad always went to a lot of games, so I was kind of tagged along there, and it's grown really since then.
Aye, it's a number of years. Obviously, starting out as a fan, you're they're sort of, well, especially me, they're sort of club that just catches on with you, isn't it? It's like it becomes ingrained into you.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I think as you go along, and the more you take in games and be about and be involved in the club, then yeah, it grows on you. And I think your example actually is one that's very relatable. Coming in, and it was really quickly. You become ingrained in the club.
That's a special club for it. So, how did you get involved with actually? Was it just keeping going, and because your uncle and your dad and stuff like that? Did they approach you, or did you approach them and stuff? Yeah,
so like that, going to a lot of the games. So obviously it's local clubs at this level. You go to the games, you kind of get to know everybody, and it was always a thing that people who are regular, they always try and, or the club at that time, and even now, you obviously try and get people, if it's myself or yourself, the club try to get them involved. So it was an ongoing thing. As I say, obviously Ed ended up on the committee, and at that time, I know we're going to go into the groundsman stuff later, say that with a smile. That was really how it started. Ed, and at the time Ian Mockery, ex-groundsman of the club, still watches all the terraces. They were the groundsmen.
Right.
So really how it actually started me being involved in the club before committee level, and we're not talking about me being the boot boy, unless you want to go further on that one.
Oh, you brought up, so we'll talk about it now.
But with them being the groundsman, I looked at the surroundings of the ground and stuff, so I was the tag along with the wee lawnmower cutting, trimming the grass.
Right.
So that's really how it started.
It's getting in and doing a bit of voluntary work in it and stuff like that, and clubs like us need people like yourself like that to come and volunteer and help us out with the upkeep of the pitch. And obviously, as we said, we'll talk about that later on with the ground stuff, but you were secretary at one point. Did you go in as just a committee member to start off with, like myself just now, and then were you delegated a job basically, like,
yeah, so
you can do this?
So the stuff, as I'm saying, like being part of the ground staff at that time, if you want to say, helping out round about the ground. So what I do now, it was Eddie and Mockery at that time, doing the pitch on the tractor, doing the good jobs.
Aye, the lining.
And the lining, the pitch and stuff like that. So I was doing the other stuff on the side, if you like to say. And then at that time I wasn't actually part of the committee, but the committee at that time were always at me, if you want to say.
Right.
So when was I going to join? But it was never something that I really gave too much thought, to be honest. But then it became inevitable that that's what was going to happen, and joined the committee. You mentioned that I was the secretary. That kicked on after a good few years on the committee. Mm-hmm. Just general committee, doing what I could. But my main focus was always round about the ground stuff.
Aye.
And then it did go, I'm pretty sure it went side by side. I was still doing what I do with the ground and became the secretary.
Right. So, in terms of secretary, it's an awful lot of work.
Yeah.
Probably an awful lot of work that people don't realise what actually goes in what you're doing. I've only seen it firsthand recently. What sort of stuff? How did you find it getting into that? Was it a bit of an eye opener? Like, my God, all this happens with running a football club. It's not just as simple as you sign a player and you. Yeah, like that's how you can play.
So I can't. I'm struggling to recall the kind of circumstances of how the secretary position was becoming available. It was Andy Pollock, who's now involved at the under-20s.
Yeah,
he was the secretary, and I'm not. As I say, I can't quite recall how he had to give it up for whatever reason. But we had discussions, or he had discussions with me, having been about it.
Right.
And basically he taught me the role, because he had to give it up, and then obviously I did take it on from there. In terms of the work involved, it's not just a case of a couple of signatures and we're good to go. There's a hell of a lot of work involved.
You're working on it nearly every day, aren't you? And especially if you're taking the groundwork as well, and you've got a full-time job and stuff. I mean, it's like it takes its time, it takes its toll on yourself. I mean, especially when it's registering players and getting things, everything has to be spot on. You can't miss out anything. It could be.
Yeah, well, jumping obviously forward, it's now Jim Hannigan that's kind of took the secretary role back on from myself. That's obviously been a few years in the making now. But yes, I always think the person who's leaving the role, they've got a big role to play in making sure that the person who is coming in is up to speed. And again, that's not an overnight job. That was many weeks and months.
And I know what you were saying, Jim, there. I know you're still there to help Jim if he does need any help. I mean, he can come to you. He can, if there's things that he doesn't know about. I mean, I think it's yourself and John Henry that because he is matchday secretary, isn't he, John? So
yeah,
it's not as if we're just right. There's a job. Deal with it, mate.
Yeah, and it's you asked about the kind of importance of getting things right, if you want to say, and it is really down to the really minute details.
Clerical errors, and
you upload a form and there's one number wrong or one date missing or anything like that, one letter. It says.
Well, look at the start of this
season. It's funny because that.
The start of this season with the clerical error with an eligible player. We had I think it was like the Wednesday or something, we got the email saying that it was free to play, but then one came out on Friday night that wasn't seen. It's like,
so I think that's what you're saying. It's the secondary role. It's almost a 24-hour job, 7 days a week.
I want to thank you for it, mate. No a job that I could do within the club. I mean, it's so hats off to anybody that puts themselves forward to do that role, and I know how important that is. But as I was saying, the help's always there for everybody. I mean, I would help out if Jim needed help just now doing it and stuff. I mean, I'm sure yourself and others would be. Have you had any other roles within? You mentioned boot boy, so let's talk about the boot boy. What happened there?
Yeah, so obviously I'd mentioned the helping out round the ground stuff, but the very first kind of involvement, if you want to say, within the working group for the club, I was a boot boy for a few years.
Right. Did anybody take the mic?
I'm sure anybody listening that can relate. The drying conditions in the pavilion weren't always the best.
Yeah, aye.
I don't know if you've got anything noted down there about that, Tim.
No, nothing, mate. This is news to me about the boot boy, so nobody's came forward. Anybody want to leave some comments about knowing Stephen being a boot boy and things that have happened? I'd like to hear this. So basically, was it every boot you were cleaning, or was it?
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be anyway. But yeah, it was what it was. But like that, it's a good chance to get involved at the club at a young age. I mean, I don't know what age that would have been, but you're in and around the players and getting a real feel for it. Yeah.
And we're lucky that we're at a club like that where you're in close contact with the players and you get to know them. When you get to see what sort of characters are in the dressing room and stuff like that, and the players are all great. Every one of them speak to you and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And You've not got any big egos, really, have you, and stuff like that? Did you have any egos when you were there? Was there somebody, you've not cleaned my boot right?
No, that I remember at that time, to be fair.
I think you're sitting on the fence here, mate, and you're not wanting to let too much go.
You'll see the comments later, I'm sure.
So obviously you've been doing that for a while and stuff, and you're a fan, you're getting to see the games. So
I think obviously you said about other roles as well, and that's the wee jokey one at the road in terms of the boot boy stuff. But yeah, secretary, no, we're going to go into the grounds room, but in between times as well, I did kind of, I don't know if you'd call it be the programme editor, but yeah, I did do that as well. Right.
I know how much goes into that, because I help Robert out with doing some of the stuff on it, do you know what I mean? Obviously the graphics and things like that, but what Robert's producing the news, top notch, do you know what I mean? It's like, I've always liked looking at the old ones as well and seeing the stuff that's, it's always been a good programme.
Yeah.
Why we didn't do it for so long? Is it just...
Well, I don't know if it was a combination of the fact, obviously, having dropped out of the Premier League, and maybe looking at the possible lack of crowds then.
Yep.
Been in the league below, and then obviously went to the conferences and whatnot. So I don't know if that's maybe one of the reasons the club decided not to do it at that time.
It's probably a cost thing, isn't it, where you don't want to spend X amount printing them and then you're only selling 10.
Yeah. And then I think, though, what you said about the production now, it's pretty good, really good. And I think if we were going to bring it back going into the Premiership, then it had to be of that quality.
Absolutely. And I think we've got it spot on, and sales show that just now, because they're selling really well, and that's down to myself and Robert and Ross, who's getting a few stuff there with his match report, and then you've got Harry, who's running about with his bucket selling. Thanks very much, Harry.
Head salesman.
If it wasn't for Harry doing that, it wouldn't sell. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you wouldn't know about it.
And I think just on that, we should give a shout out to Stuart at Advanced Images, just for the work he does, and including in the printing of the programme.
Yep. Thank you very much. He's got a board at the ground as well, and the Advanced Images, you'll see it if you're doing it Arthurlie. That's the guy that prints them off for us. And he does other things as well, doesn't he? I mean, he does all the boards and things like that for us.
Yeah.
So you obviously done a bit of social media as well with the club, which is quite close to my heart.
You're that man now.
I just kind of took it upon myself to take over. But you know what it's like having to do that. I mean, it's no...
Yeah, and to be fair, in the time, in the kind of early stages of me being involved at the club and the committee, it was a criticism of the club about, to be clear, how poor the social media content was at the time, and how little information went out. It really was a criticism, and stubbornness is probably the wrong word, but the club didn't always act on it.
Maybe it was down to a case they didn't realise how important it can be.
Yeah. I
mean, the power of social media, where you're getting it out there and people are getting the information needed. Even to this day, when you're doing it, you feel as if you're putting out loads of content, but you're still getting the 110 questions about, is the game going to be on, is there a pitch inspection, and you're like, just calm down, right? The information will be sent out to you when we've got it.
That the messages start about 7:30 on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, well, you still get notifications because you're still there with Twitter and Facebook, but so you see what sort of stuff I get. Well, we're talking about things like that. There was a bit of a thing at the Pollock game about a dog getting charged £3 to get in, which was quite funny on it. It was how I can't believe so many people fell for it. To the fact that one Pollock fan was actually raging.
To be fair, I mean, I only saw 15 minutes of that game. I had to go to the amateur game, and that's great. But the whole social media aftermath of that game was absolutely mental.
Wasn't it?
We'd comment and listen, the pitch wasn't great. The pitch was atrocious. It was the reason for Pollock not winning the game. All sorts, and then with Doggate.
Well, you done a great job to get the game on. I don't think you thought it would have went.
No, well, what a lot of people obviously in the lead up to that game, a lot of people didn't know the kind of problems we encountered. We had burst pipes in the back of the cold weather and the thaw, and we had blocked drains on the pitch.
Yep.
Combined with a hell of a lot of rain and snow and all the rest of it. So
how it went ahead, I don't know.
To get it on was great.
You worked wonders.
And there's no debate about the fact that the pitch is heavy and it's dodgy at times, and sometimes it can affect maybe the quality in the games. But at the end of the day, it's the same for both teams.
Well, I put it down to two things. They're greeting because they didn't win, right? Because they expected to turn up and do us. They didn't play football, but so if you don't play football, you're not going to beat us.
No.
We played football. We get the ball down and we played some really good football. Unfortunately, we couldn't finish. Just one of the games. To blame it on the pitch, saying that Pollock couldn't play football on this pitch, talk shite, right? These are just moaning for the sake of it. You've got a manager in charge that loves the long ball, who played twice as a Rob Roy manager and done them 2 weeks in a row, and he never changed his tactics in any of the games. And then when he came up against us with Pollock, he played the exact same way. So what does that tell you? In
many ways, I'm actually glad I didn't see this game, because all the comments were about how poor it was.
It was a poor game, but to say the fact that they lost because of the state of the pitch and it was too narrow. How long have we been playing games there against Pollock? I mean, they know what they're going to come up against.
Well, done at least. It's never changed in any of these senses. It's always been the same dimensions, and at this time of the year it's always been heavy, and it probably always will, if we're being brutally honest.
Yep, it's never going to change, so just get used to it. If you're coming to Dunterley, you're going to get it hard. Do you know what I mean? What they expected the red carpet out for them, and you're going to get it easy. If you're coming, especially on a game like that, it's going to be a battle in it. It's going to be a bit of a war, and there was some meaty challenges and stuff like that, but I think I actually put it on saying Derby Day, do you know mean drab day or something, because it was a bit of a drab game, but no much quality. But sometimes in derby games you don't get quality. It's meant to do with who wins it in the midfield, the fighting battle and stuff. And anyway, we digress away for that. The dog gate thing. Turners, he's just put that out there. Even the guy that thought he was taking with the dog, he's laughing at the bottom of the questions, the answers on social media and stuff. But there's all these, I can't believe they've charged £3. It's a disgrace. What's going on here?
So can we just be clear that dogs go free? Dogs go free,
unless you're a Pollock dog, you're getting charged £3. Especially him, it was moaning. But he been at the moaning about queues outside the turnstile, with the two turnstiles open well in advance of the game starting. Their supporter bus turned up about 4 minutes before kick-off. What do you expect?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not. It's a big game. Surely you should be there in time.
And I'm sure, obviously, it's not really kind of my department in terms of the club, but if there are lessons to be learned, then I'm sure that the club will learn them, and they always try their best to kind of do their best on match days. But at the end of the day, it's a busy game. To save any hassle, make sure you're there early. That's the best advice you can give.
Well, my reply is we had the two turnstiles open, and we're working with what we have to work with, to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
It's not a case of we're not opening a gate and we'll just let them wait and miss the first fight. They didn't miss anything. Do you know what I mean?
No.
To be honest, they didn't miss anything.
That's the full 90 minutes inclusive, I think.
Yeah, aye. He could have stood outside for the full 90 minutes and moaned about his dog not getting in. So let's talk about some coaching and management. Did you just go straight in as amateurs manager, or did you do any coaching?
No. So the reason any sort of coaching came up was through the then under-21s, Arthurlie under-21s manager Greg McElreevy.
Right.
And it was more of a thing that if obviously the first team, at that time my focus was purely on what I did with the committee and basically the first team. But after games, that was back in the Arthurlie club days.
Uh-huh.
And that's where the post-match refreshments were to be had, shall we say. So that's I think they might have been 19s at that time. That's what they went. So there was always that kind of I would be at the first team game, the guys would always be back, that's where the committee went, so there was always that big group after games on a Saturday, and that kind of, a good word here, the rapport was built up with me and Greg and Sean. McNeil was involved at that time with Greg, and just one thing really led to another, and I eventually Greg asked would I like to be involved, and that's really where it started, because without kind of missing the middle bit out, it's really the bulk of that team that made up the start of the amateur team.
So the boys that you've got just now?
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of team's changed and evolved since, but there's still a group that were involved in that team that are still here now.
So how long were you there at 21? So
that was... It's been two and a half seasons, because it was kind of I'm sure it was a mid-season.
Right.
Again, I started being involved. But to be fair, it's night and day what I was doing then to what I'm kind of doing now. So obviously myself and Sean running the amateurs, and it's fully hands-on for the 2 years. Whereas I was kind of more in the background, if you want to say, when I get involved.
Right.
Initially at the 21s.
Was there any players playing for the first team that were there at the time with Gummy and McNeil and stuff?
So obviously Gummy's came for the Barhead youth, but so Mick McNeil and Lee Rolston were part of that team.
Was Andy McLaughlin, was he there as well?
So he was with Gummy at Barhead. So again, a good kind of advert for the fact that the kind of two clubs are together now. And the whole pathway. I know we always speak about that.
Absolutely. It's a great thing that we've got in it. It's we're getting all the talent coming through. But they're not going anywhere else. They've got that pathway into.
Yeah.
If they're not going into the 20s, you can go to yourself. If they're a certain age and stuff like that as well. And I mean, it's like if they're not going to make it up into the first team. So obviously you mentioned Sean there, who is your co-manager, as we like to say, at the Brig Inn at the weekend. It's a bit of a wind-up kind of thing, isn't it? I know Blakey grills you on it constantly.
I'm still waiting these questions.
We'll get to them. So his involvement, he came in with you then, with doing it then.
So that 21s team, Greg had kind of made it clear in the kind of mid-season, in what turned out to be the last season at 21s, that he was going to be taking a step back. So the decision was there either to rebuild a 21s team, because the majority of the boys were going to be too old, or did we look to take it on and become or make it an amateur team. And obviously it's worked out that way.
So did you go to the club and say to them, I want to start an amateurs team up? Because there wasn't one there at the time, was there?
No, there wasn't. But it wasn't really for a discussion for the club. It was just obviously with Greg taking the step back that he was going to take. It was really a discussion for myself and Sean whether that's what he wanted to do, whether we wanted to continue at all. But it became clear pretty quickly that that's what we were going to do. And even, as I say, there was still that kind of nucleus of a team, but it was maybe only, say, half a squad, so there was still a squad to be built if we were going to take it on and go into the amateurs like we did.
Was it straightforward setting it up? Going to the league and stuff like that and getting involved?
Yeah, well, obviously Greg had did a lot of the paperwork at 21s, the 21 stuff. So although he was taking the step back, he was really supportive in terms of the setup. And it was myself and Greg that actually went to the meeting at Hampden with the SEFL that we're now, that's obviously the league we're involved in. And did all that sort of process and the paperwork and stuff. Straightforward. As these sort of things go, then yeah, it was pretty straightforward.
Good. It's must have been exciting as well, thinking that getting there to be in charge of a team, getting them out there on a pitch and seeing what you can actually do as a manager.
Well, the getting into the amateurs was a bit of kind of getting into the unknown. Because even as I say, working kind of in the background at the 19s, 21s, totally different level when we're going amateur. step up. There's no age barriers, stuff like that. And yeah, so we applied no way a lack of expectation, because we knew the kind of squad we had and then built on.
Yeah.
A good pre-season that year, and then had to whittle the squad down.
Aye.
But
so that's your first foray into getting rid of people and having to tell them, "No, sorry, you're no welcome." How does that go for you? How do you approach that when you're having to let a player go?
well, the mess.
Do you pass that on to Sean?
See, to be fair, I think both of us have had an equal share of dealing with these sort of things.
Do you take it on what sort of player it is and go, right, I think you'll be better dealing with him? Or?
I just pass that one over.
Aye.
No, they're never nice, but if you try to run a team, then it just comes to that point where the phone calls and messages happen.
You need to be brutally honest, don't you? If it's because at the end of the day, it's the club that comes first. Know the players. Do you know what I mean? It's like, obviously the players get you the points and move you forward, but this is saying like the player is bigger than the club. So
yeah,
if you need to let somebody go, you can't be emotionally tied to it. I mean, personal and stuff like that. And I'll go into that later, because there is an emotional tie with a player for yourself just now, with your brother being there, so it's kind of like I'll talk about that later, right? So you've started up your amateur team, you had a good pre-season and stuff like that, and was this before COVID? Just before COVID times?
So that was
that's your favourite subject, I know, as well, mate. So.
Yeah, I hope there's no questions in that. So we'd set the team up, and it was like a false start because of the whole COVID and restrictions and everything else that went with that for the however long it was, 2 years or so. But the first kind of opportunity we had to go and play competitively, the league had decided, again I'm terrible with dates, but they decided that with the kind of amount of season they had left when we were allowed to play, that they set up one of their kind of league competitions. And it was a group stage, and then either the top 2 or 3 had went in, and basically a group stage, and then the qualifiers were into a quarter final or a semi final. So we went and had won that. We actually obviously won what they called the Summer Cup.
Right.
And that gave us a good kind of idea of where we were to start with. And at that time the SFL was still 2 leagues, so as a new team we were going to be getting into the Championship. But the vast majority of the teams that we beat on the way to winning the Summer Cup were in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So we knew we had a good foundation there to go and be successful.
Well, it's winning a trophy right away is always great. And we know Stephen's a master at winning trophies because of a treble winning manager. He brought more trophies back to Arthurlie last season than any other manager, and that was with the 3 teams winning trophies. I think 5 trophies came back to Arthurlie last season, which is excellent. Because that's what you aim for every season, isn't it? To get a trophy, that's what it's all about. It's no matter if you're winning 1 or 3, you're doing something right as a club at all levels. And there's a wee saying that you keep coming up with every time I've hit in the pub, it's not about me, it's about the trophy. And that's what he was wanting to say today, I think, on the podcast.
Very well said, Tim.
This story's not about me, it's about the trophies. Because that's all you want to do, innit? You just want to win trophies. Since I first met you and get involved with Arthurlie, that's all I've heard you saying. I just want to go and win this trophy, I just want to go and win it. And that's that winning mentality that you've got. And the 3 managers have got it. Every time you talk to them, it's the same sort of attitude you've got. I want to win this, I want to win this trophy, and I think we can do well. So I'd much rather have people like that at the club than people are going, I don't know how we're going to fare, or if we just do this and do that. No, we want winners here, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and you've got a good bunch of lads there. I've been seeing you a couple of times.
Yeah, I think that's why we can put that out there, that we're here to win, because we know the squad that we've got and the players that we've got within that are capable of going and I'll be honest, beating anybody on their day at this level. And then that obviously takes us on to the kind of the disappointing aspects of the 2 seasons we've had, or season and a half that we've had amateur in terms of the Scottish and the West. Now this year we came in the back of winning the trebles, you're saying the league treble, and we didn't make a secret, we wanted to do well in the Scottish and the West and the national trophies, and it's not quite happened, but I don't regret actually putting that out there.
I remember you saying at the start of the season that, well, at the end of the season when you got the treble, that you were gutted about the Scottish because you went out really early. Was it first round, wasn't it?
First round, yeah.
What Gilpaid, was it them?
No, that was it.
Oh, was it Red Star?
Red Star, yeah.
Red Star. And you were like, I wanted that one. So I know what it felt for you coming this season and getting into it, and then what happened?
So we got past the first round this year, which was not a bonus, it was a positive. But and then, to be fair, come up, and this is inclusive of the Scottish and the West, the 2 tournaments, we come up against really tough draws. Away to East Kilbride from the Cali, but we'd beat them last year in the West, so it wasn't a game that was going to phase us, or we felt kind of inferior or anything like that. But we come up against a really good opponent that day, and I think it was 5-3 or 6-3 they beat us in the end.
6-3. You know, 2-1 up at one point or something?
Yeah, I think we went behind and then went ahead, but as the 6 goals suggest, defensively we weren't quite on it. I think if you go away and score 3 goals against a top team, then you should be looking to get at least a result.
Aye. I'm going to go and talk about last season, because it was an incredible season for you. Won in the league, Centenary Cup and Jimmy Marshall Cup. We'll talk about the Centenary Cup first, because that was the first one on the board, wasn't it? Neilston away at Brigalee.
Yeah.
1-0 down. That was the first time I'd actually been up there. And I thought very slow the first half and stuff. It was like, what's going on here? Getting beat 1-0. And then you made a couple of wee changes and you blew them away the second half. Your front 3 were phenomenal, and defensively they were just on it. What do you remember for that game?
I remember the disappointment at half time.
Aye.
But that wasn't just me or Sean, or that was every day as a collective, because we knew we hadn't played quite to the levels. It was I don't know if you've got a note. I don't quite remember the actual changes that were made or whatnot, but it was a few tweaks there and just a couple of words, I think. Yeah. I remember Sean giving a good bit of half time. Not even tactically, just attitude, going to show that we're better. I think we did that in the second half.
I think their fitness showed as well compared to them. I think these were younger boys and you looked much fitter, especially as the game went on and you were getting that space in behind. And I think, was it Ryan that scored that wee chip goal? It was superb. I mean, it's like
Chippy Sundays.
Aye. And that's what these boys have got in their locker. I mean, some great goals. I think Kyle scored a goal as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I think Ryan might have got 2 and Kyle.
It was one a header.
A header, yeah. I think so, yeah.
These were much better the second half. And it was good getting your first cup there. It sets you on the path, doesn't it, for the rest of the season. You go, right, we've won a cup early, we'll beat a team who are in the same league. Yeah. And you know you've got the beating of them, so it stands you well. Then you go on a crazy run on the league, you're winning, beating everybody, and this is mirroring the first team. Yeah. So it's like everything at Arthurlie at this time was just brilliant. I mean, but then we don't want to speak about certain words until it gets to near the end of the season. And we're like, invincible, we're going to go and do it, invincible. And looking at your stats, as I marked down, you ended up with 49 points with 77 goal difference, right? And the 77 goal difference, I think the nearest team was like 30 odd goal difference. So you're beating teams with stupid amount of goals every week. I mean, 6, 5s, 4s, and you're white to flare with everybody. You're stormed it. Yeah. And then just before the end of the season, you're in another cup final. Jimmy Marshall Cup, as we said. Port Glasgow. I was at that as well. Home Park, who we're visiting tomorrow again. So it's been pretty good for Arthurlie recently. 3-0. What my memories for that game was, it was a bit tasty. They had about 37 people on the bench.
Yeah, so
it was a bit of a ding dong, wasn't it?
It was tasty. It was tasty in the sense that they wanted a battle.
Yep.
But if I'm being brutally honest, that's all they really had.
Uh-huh.
I think it was tasty in that sense, but I thought we were very, very comfortable. I think we get the early goal. I think Jamie scored a penalty. Kyle had won the penalty.
Kyle had them on toes the first half of the long ball. They just didn't know how to.
Yeah, I think Kyle get the man of the match that night from the league, and deservedly so.
Well, I don't know about that. I've got my views on that, but
no, but I think we were comfortable. I think 3-0 was probably a fair reflection, and then, as you say, the tastiness.
Some flashpoints in the game, Ryan, with that tackle.
Yeah, so
which was a bit. They made it worse, and the guy's turned and he's got the straight leg out.
The fact that happened straight right in front of their bench.
They were in uproar about it.
It gave them a chance to kind of try and impose themselves, but as I say, that's all they really had. I thought in that final was trying to make it a battle.
I don't think they caused you anything, did they?
I don't remember Ryan Trousdale having too many saves to make, to be honest.
No, not that I can remember. And then Roscoe scores an absolute peach at the end as well, didn't he?
Yes, I think it was 2-0, and then they got a couple of men sent off. I think that might have been at 2-0.
The tackle on Sean Ross in the middle of the pitch, the guy just cleans him right out, and then complaining as if I didn't touch him. You're like, seriously, mate?
I think cynical's the word for that.
And it was the refs with these new curls were one side's red and one side's yellow. So if we were watching it from behind, and he's flashed it, and I'm like, how's that only a yellow card? And the guy comes walking after him going, where's he gone? And it was somebody next to him went, it's a double-sided card. I'm like, why have they got that? Surely that's going to confuse people,
especially in the amateurs. You're talking about uproars and stuff.
Aye. And you're right when you say they wanted to make it a battle. They want, because they knew you could play football, and you like to get it done and use your pace up front and stuff.
I remember just this when you say that. I think it might only have been 1-0 at half time, and I think one of the clearest messages was that our discipline. If we kept our discipline, then we were going to go and win the final. And that's what we did. In finals especially, that's something to say. Keep 11 people on the pitch. I mean, keep your 11 men on the pitch and you've got a chance. Yeah. But you could tell earlier on they were going to lose people. Just they moaned at every single touch, every single corner. But it seemed to create a kind of. Did you not play them before? And there was a bit of thing we'd done there. Was it, or was it a semi-final? Did you play the semi-final at Tory Glen? And they were playing in the next pitch. Yeah, so the league had the two semi-finals side by side that night. So we were playing
a bit of verbal there.
Neilston. So the game. Who were they playing? Were they playing Inverclyde maybe, or Castlemilk? I'm not 100% sure, but it was a bit dowsy.
They're obviously trying to get in your head early and stuff.
Yeah. And we've since played them again. They're in the same league, vying for the league title. They're up there as well this year, so there's going to be a few more battles to come. But we're ready for that.
I thought you were tremendous that night, the 3-0 win. My man of the match was Josh Haley. I thought he was outstanding that night. Really, really good. He was unlucky not to score himself. So going back to the league, you've got a second cup in the bag. You're like, let's go and win this league. Let's go and do it. Invincible.
That's right.
What happened?
So we obviously did. We went and won the league and set up really well, but two trips were left. Up Gilphead away and then Dunoon away. If people had said to me, well, you've won the league, why do you not do what other teams do at amateur and just forfeit the games and save yourself a hell of a lot of money, or the club a lot of money? But
was this Jer?
It would be this year.
Aye.
But no, there's no secret we wanted to go and be invincible, win that in the league. But we travelled to Gilpie. That was the second last game, and we were
Depleted.
Good word, Tim. But we were, but no excuses. It was an even game, and heading for a one each, and their boys had struck a free kick late on to go and win it. They had a lot to play for. I think they needed to win to be second, which was
right
before the league joined together. That was going to be an automatic promotion for them. So there was a lot on the game for them as well, but they probably hedged it on the day. But it was disappointing.
So you've lost your invincibility. We won, you go, and then you're left with Dunoon away. And what happened there? What did you do? What was the decision?
Well, to be fair, because I think I might have been on here and I heard you speaking to somebody, and it wasn't your decision not to play it. It actually came from Dunoon that they weren't going to field a team.
Right.
Because anybody that knows this group and the kind of laughs and jokes we've had about Dunoon, the boys were looking for another away day just to finish the season, so we would have travelled.
There was another away day at Dunoon, but we'll leave that till later because there's something there we want to speak about.
Well, I wasn't sure that was going to be brought up, but okay.
Oh, it's going to get brought up, alright. So we'll leave that out. So they've decided, no, we're not playing you. We're not fielding a team. Your season's over now, innit? That's true. You've done the treble. You're wanting to move on to next season, get new boys in or whatever. Or did you lose anybody? Did you keep the majority of the team?
So we kept everybody, apart from Ryan Truesdale, the goalkeeper, who moved to St Cadoc's.
Yep.
Again, a well-deserved move. Did an excellent season for us.
Very impressed with him. I thought he was a really good keeper. Obviously
was recognised at St Cadoc's quite early on, and we got word of that early. So we were able to try and make plans, but it did take us a hell of a long time to bring a goalkeeper in.
And it's still something that's, for the start of the season, we've spoken about it, like goalkeepers. It's been a chop and change kind of thing. You've had people in, you've no...
Yeah, so at the moment we're actually on to our third goalkeeper of the season. That's in the position, holding the jersey.
11 games in, 3 keepers.
Yeah, so it's not been ideal, and again that's maybe where some of the defensive uncertainties came from.
Right. So, going back to last season, I want to try and get some input for Sean. Like, do you run it like both decisions come to a decision together, or do you get the final say, or does he have the final say in some things and stuff?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever really came to a position where it's kind of loggerheads or anything. I think when it comes to decisions, and we just chat and arrive at a decision together.
Well, I've seen it firsthand with Loch Gilby this season, and the two you sitting on the bus and discussing things together and stuff like that, and these are a good team. Just work close together.
Yeah, we've got that kind of way of working. Sean, and they'll tell you, Sean does the vast majority of the coaching,
right?
On training nights, game days as well. He takes the warm ups and stuff as well. It's just, and people say, why is that? Why is it kind of all focus one way or the other? It's just the way we work. It's just the way it's happened.
Well, it works for you, doesn't it? So why change it? I mean, especially if you're winning trophies and you're bringing trebles back to it. Do you know what I mean? It's like. So did you, at the start of that season, did you think that you would bring a treble back and nearly go unbeaten for the season? Was that part of your plans?
Our plan was to try and be successful. As I say, we were kind of getting into the unknown. First really any of us had been involved at amateur level.
Yep.
And there was no real expectation. We obviously, as I said earlier, we built a squad that we knew were capable, but it was then going in and seeing how we matched up at that level.
Aye.
The longer it went on, then obviously the more success we wanted.
You're seeing it week in, week out, that you're scudding teams, you're like...
Yeah.
And you can see it for other teams on Twitter and stuff like that, and how they're talking about you, and God, they're running away with it, machine just now. I mean, they're just doing things. That must be good to see as well. That you're getting the respect off of other teams. I mean, I'm sure there was a few games you rocked up to last season and you'd beat them before you even went on the pitch.
Yeah, I think so. And like that, I think it was because in the knockout games or the group stage games we were beating teams in the Premier. So the teams in our league and in the Championship at that time were obviously taking notice of that as well.
Yep. And that's a great thing, isn't it? Your confidence is booming. You feel as if you can go and beat Indy. Well, you were beating them all. So we'll talk about this season, right? We'll go into this season. Before we do that, I'm going to give you a shout out for Club Shop Direct. Club Shop Direct are a wee shop that you can go online and you can buy all your Arthurlie merchandise for, cups, mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, like this one. You can get stationery and stuff like that. I think you can buy your season ticket through them as well and stuff like that. So go and see Derek, and he'll help you out. We'll leave a link below so that you can see it. And thanks very much for supporting us, Derek. I appreciate it. So this season, sitting second, played 11, won 8, drew 1, lost 2. But again, your goal difference is plus 35 after 11 games. You're best in the league again. You're sitting on 25 points and you're 3 points behind Glenhill, but a game in hand. Yeah,
but then probably since those notes we've had 3 points taken off because Hillington folded.
That's right, there was an asterisk at the bottom.
So
they've folded.
So I think that puts us into fourth. But the way I've looked at it, or we've looked at it, is we've got 2 games before the split. We play Port and LBU this coming Saturday, and then we've got Buljaffrey to play before it splits, and then it's the top 8. So we'll get 7 games after that.
Right.
All going to be tasty games because they're obviously all going to be challenging.
But the 2 teams that we've mentioned, Glenhill and who are sitting top, and Port Glasgow, who we were talking about earlier, you've already went and scudded the 2 of them, haven't you? And took 12 goals.
Yeah, so
6 each.
So the reason we're not, that's right, but the reason we're not sitting top is because the 2 poor performances we've had against Gilphead away. I think you were at that game too.
I was there, aye.
And Nielsen at home.
Yep, the 2-0 winner.
But look, Gilphead aside, well, we've got to obviously play all of them after the split, and at the moment it's in our hands to overtake all of the teams apart from Gilphead, but they have still got the most games to play before the split.
Right.
I think they've got Glenhill and Nielsen still to play.
I really want you to do them. Right, because see, after going and watching it, I hated them. Just now that way you just see a team and you just go, I don't like you. They're one of the teams that we've not beaten since coming into the setup, so they've obviously got something on us, but we've got another opportunity soon to put that right. Well, I hope you do. Because you were unlucky that day against them at the end where you should have went and pulled a draw with Mr. Hughes. I think he shot his eyes at a header at the last second, didn't he?
Yeah, I hope you're not going to talk about any other goals that he scored.
Blair Hughes, who's an amateur player, one of Stephen's boys. I heard he scored a screamer at the weekend.
Yeah, he did.
Aye.
There's no the flame emojis don't go on the reports for nothing. So
is it it's one of these. It's a keepsake moment, isn't it? It's like he doesn't score many.
Aye, that's him. He'll be lucky to get back in the pitch now.
Did they celebrate? Is he away half tap half for that, Kevin?
We've not heard the end of it.
Aye. Replay at the end, they capture it. You should get a VO done and get that captured. Fair play to him, going and doing that, man. What was it? 2-0 at the weekend?
Yeah, 2-0. Glenvale, they're sitting second or third bottom, but they played a lot better than the league position suggests. They were tough to break down Saturday. So,
what do you think for this season?
Well, the aim's still the same. Taking the Scottish and West out of it, we're still in the the 3 trophies that we won last year. Well, the Premier League this year and the 2 cups, and that's still the aim. But we've got work to do. But the aim's still to go and win the 3 of them.
Well, as you said, you've made the move up for the Championship into the Premiership, and to be sitting where you're sitting, you're a good team, and you know you're a good team. I mean, you don't go and sit there and take 6 goals off a Port and 6 goals off a Glenhill who are sitting top if you're. It's not just by chance. I mean, it's like,
I think what we've said, obviously we spoke about kind of nearly going invincible last year in the league. I think the kind of early defeats in the league this year kind of show just how much an achievement last year was, because I think the longer it went, then maybe some of the boys or even people looking in from the outside, they were just taking it for granted. Whereas if there's a lot of hard work went into to go and do it with them. I
think sometimes maybe getting brought back down to earth, and you're maybe not going to get it as easy as you did. You've made a step up, quite similar to the first team when they having the start of the season that they had, dining out after the Invincibles, and then coming up with there is games there we should have went and won. I mean, absolutely, we should be sitting in a far better place than we're sitting now, but we're getting it right. We're getting points on the board and we're doing well. As for yourself, you say you're still in for a treble again. To bring a treble back again would be, mate, what happens there? To be,
it does.
Get a statue for you outside Arthurlie. Who's brought a treble back to Arthurlie in how many years? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they did it back to back, it's.
I think I wasn't actually going to mention it because it's not quite confirmed, but without getting into too much detail, I think later on this week there's going to be a league meeting, and it's going to make as I say, we want to win the treble, but the league's going to be really important because it looks as if there's going to be an amalgamation of certain amateur leagues.
Right.
I said we're not really allowed to speak in depth at the moment.
All will be revealed.
And the league position, or at least the top 3 in our league, are going to get a good deal out of it by the looks of it. So,
good.
So that makes it important, but the aim doesn't really change for us because we've said we want to win the league.
Well, that's it. That's I keep saying it's not about me, it's about the trophies. And I hope to see more trophies back at Duntley for you, because I think you're getting it right. And I like watching you. I know I don't get to see you enough, because it's like vice versa. You don't get to see the first team, I don't get to see the Arms, but I like watching you. I think you've got some really good players, and I like the way you play. The two you work really well together, and I got on with Sean as well. Do you know what I mean? And I want to see you win trophies, mate. So make sure you get the 3 back at the Duntley this year. No pressure, mate.
We're trying our best.
Pressure.
Trying our best.
But you've had the disappointment of the Scottish again. So it's the one that's kind of eluding you in it. It's like, is there a hex on it or something? It's just.
It's no.
Who did you go to this season? Was it?
That was East Kilbride. We were away to them at Curtin Home, and what a good setup out there.
Aye.
Part of the Cali Premier League. Well, I think they've got 3 teams, but we played the Cali team, and the work that the guys have done out there is really, really good. It's really impressive.
Maybe something to look into, go and see. So next we're going to do a wee. Oh, do you know what we'll talk about the Player of the Year awards for last year, right? I forgot to mention this about last season because obviously I was dealing with the award stuff and I had to get the nominations and stuff. Well, the winners off you, and it was like goal of the season, Josh Haley, Players Player of the Year, Roscoe, and then Player of the Year was Roscoe as well. Was it not? And then you messaged me saying at the last minute, "Oh, we've got 2 now." And I was like, "What? What's going on?" And Kyle Elric, I didn't know if it was him first or Roscoe, and then you.
Yes, it was
you made a decision.
It was a joint Player of the Year, yeah.
Aye. What happened there? Was it just you just didn't feel like giving it to the one person? You thought the 2 of them were on a par? Yeah,
probably for slightly different reasons. I mean, both of their numbers were excellent. Their commitment to the team was excellent, and they were really influential over the season. And in the end, it was really hard to split them. Yeah.
Aye, it's Thank God you made it right at the last minute, mate. It was a good night. Good to see these boys getting recognised as well, especially Players Player of the Year. And you see, he had a great season last season.
On the goal of the season, obviously, when Blair had scored his on Saturday, that kind of brought a few flashbacks for some of the boys, and I'm sure he'll hear this at some point. But Conor McCabe was bitterly disappointed not to get the goal of the season.
Aye, gutted.
I think he's got a few suggestions as to the reasons why, but
all right.
The goal of the season won the ball.
Aye. So is Blair up for it this season?
Absolutely
so
not.
That's you bummed out, mate. We'll go into fans' questions in a minute, but I'm just going to do a wee bit of shout out for Jam Jar, they're one of our sponsors. Thanks very much for sponsors, Mark. Jam Jar's a wee restaurant in Shuttle Street in Paisley. Go and visit them. It's a lovely wee place. Do some cracking food, some great deals and mocktails and cocktails. Stephen will be interested in that. Well, saying that, I don't know if they did dark fruits. That's his favourite. So I go and check them out. Say hi to Mark and Paula and stuff, and a wee congratulations to Mark and Paula, who have just found out that Paula's pregnant. So they're going to have a wee baby next year. This year. Congratulations, guys. It's me going to be an uncle again. So, best of luck, guys. So, fans' questions, mate, right? I know you've been looking forward to this. You've seen a few of them online because it's quite hard to. I might start saying to people, going to
just send them to you.
DM, you know, so people don't know.
Just let me do a wee bit of homework.
Because you can get a wee bit of answers in your head. Now, listen, you don't need to answer these, right?
Oft.
Just say pass and we'll move on to the next
and
one.
We'll come back at the end.
Because there might be some that you don't want to. Because we'll start you off with one that.
Know that you're preempting it.
So the first fan's question is from the Midnight Slayer. Who is Miss Tuna?
I don't think that's up for discussion.
There we go. I knew that was going to happen. That's why I said it. And the second question is from Mrs. Midnight Slayer. Do you know who these people are?
No.
Oh, this is great. I'm not even going to tell you because I know who it is.
You can tell me on the way home, and then I'll phone them.
Why do you get called Dirty Boy?
All right, I know who they are now when you say that. Let's just say the real Dirty Boys obviously asked that question there.
All will be revealed later who the Midnight Mr. and Mrs. Midnight Slayer are. You'll see him about at Arthurlie. You can't miss him. He's quite big.
Absolutely not, and I'll no miss him.
So second question is for Darren Todd, who you know. Thanks for your question, Darren. Do you see any amateur players who could step up to the first team?
Yeah, it's a straight answer. It's funny because we actually obviously sat in the committee meeting last night and had the discussion.
Don't discuss anything to do with committee meetings.
No, but this is a football matter.
Don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, it's a football matter. And I had mentioned to Palmer the fact that at the start of the season we'd spoke to our boys and the plan was really to work quite closely with the first team in terms of getting boys up to training and stuff. Now, it's not to say that it can't happen. It did happen at the start in the summer, but it's just practically really hard because the amateurs train on 2 different nights to the first team. So it's all really kind of good and well in the summer, and we're making the plans and we'll do this and that, but when it actually comes to the crunch, sometimes it's hard because I want the boys to be training with us twice a week if we're going to try and win a league.
Are you going to name any players, or will you just leave that in case you build up an ego? Or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Kyle Elric and Sean Ross have already been up at the first team in the summer, and it's not to say that any of the two of them might be back up again, but they're not the only two. But you could go through a real big list there of players, and like that, the opportunity is still there for any of them to go and train with the first team and see how they do.
Yep. Thanks for the question, Dan. Next one's from Gordon McIntyre. It's the boy for Telepops Flowers,
Right.
who's one of our sponsors. What's the biggest challenge with keeping the pitch at Arthurlie in good condition?
Oft. What have you got? Well, obviously the winter weather, as we've seen in recent weeks. But ultimately, and I've spoke at committee level about this, the underground drainage at Arthurlie is horrific. Not the actual system, but the iron ore that's in the ground,
Right.
and the blockages that causes to the drainage.
Aye.
I think I said earlier that it was nearly an issue for before the Pollock game.
Mm-hmm.
And the drains were jetted on the Thursday or Friday, and if it wasn't for that, then the game would definitely have been off.
Ahead.
But the reason that's the big issue is because these drains are running just now, but it might only be a couple of weeks and they might well block again. So that is one of the biggest challenges.
So just beware, there might be some games off. And don't blame Stephen. If anything goes wrong, he's just told you there that it's not his fault. He does his best that he can. So thanks very much for your question, Gordon. Next one up is Kevin Ganley, and he done it on Facebook. As your old man pulling the strings behind the scenes.
I did read Kevin's question. No, he's not pulling the strings, but he is very much a part of what we do with amateurs. Looking at all the odd jobs, the odds and ends, and I think a few of the fans have called him the head ball boy. And yeah, no, it's all these. My dad's one of them, but there's a few helpers in the background that without them, then it makes it really hard for us to run.
Shout out to your old man, Joel. Well done for helping out. You're some man. Thanks for the question, Kevin. Next up is Harry Bradley, our chief seller of programmes. Thanks for the question, Harry. It's what's the worst job of being a groundsman?
Kind of following on for Gordon's there, but to be fair, the worst of it comes when there's maybe a big week like the Pollock game, and you've got 4 days out of the 5 where it's peeing a rain,
and you can't get on it. You're
trying to get a tractor on it. You're trying to get the divots put in for the week before. You're trying to get it lined. And obviously Harry seen me in the Pollock game, the morning of the Pollock game, and the pitch was lined 3 times.
Because I came in, that's the first thing I said to you when I went, you know, lined up pitch yet? And you were like, I've done it last night. So it just shows you how bad the weather was.
So I think the kind of toughest thing is the unpredictability of the weather.
Yep,
definitely.
Thanks for the question, Harry. Next up is Robin Miller. Is it true you always dodge cleaning the scummies at work?
I did read Robin's question. Definitely.
Aye.
He knows even better than me that water's far too cold in his foot.
Right, so you're not one to
so I'm not getting in there.
Good on you. Good honest answer. Thanks for the question, Robin. Next one up is Captain Gary Carroll. I think you might have read this one. It says, Mick McNeil told me you ought to cut the park with your teeth rather than use the tractor. How accurate is this?
All I'll say to Gary is just to let me get on with using the tractor,
right? And
he should just focus on scoring more goals and
there you go,
instead of blaming the pitch.
There you go, straight right back at you. Good answer, mate. Thanks for the question, guys. Next up is 2 questions from your co-manager, Sean.
Right.
So his first question is, what's your favourite moment supporting Arthurlie and with the Armies so far?
Supporting Arthurlie. Good questions.
I think you were taken aback with them being
I thought it would have been something in the jokey sense. Best moment. I mean, I always remember, what was it they'll say, the 98 final. But I wasn't actually at that game.
Right.
So, in terms of a game I was at, was when Arthurlie beat Pollock 4-3 at Newlandsfield to win the league.
Aye.
I think it might have been for 3-1 down.
Aye. That would have been something else.
The year does escape me, but that would be probably my best moment in terms of being at a game.
Right.
With the Armies, Well, it need to be any of the trophies. Probably the one that won the treble, so the third trophy.
Well, second question. And we're harking back to when we spoke.
Is this for Sean again?
Yes. Dunoon. Dunoon away. What happened? Explain. Police escort. Been looking forward to hearing this.
I needed a wee drink there before I answer that one.
What's in it?
I think we'd had more than a few drinks before any of this happened in Dunoon. What did happen? I don't really know. So we'd made the day out, went and played Dunoon, won the game, to be honest. Can't even remember the score, to be really honest with you.
Never how I got there.
And like that, we had the bus waiting at Gourock, and then we had taken the ferry over. So that was us making a day of it. So I think we stayed in their kind of pub that they go back to for quite a few.
Surprise.
I think Sean was on the Barbie bombs that day.
Right.
So God knows what was in them, but he was certainly on them. We were all on them. One thing led to another. Then it was time to go and get the ferry. And this isn't pinning the blame directly at these guys' door, but Rangers were playing, I think, Kilmarnock or something at Ibrox.
Right.
So they had the Dunoon Rangers Supporters Club, whatever it might have been. We actually saw them as we arrived for the game, and it so happened that we timed it that we were getting on the ferry as they came off.
Right.
So 2 drunken groups of people. A few obscenities shouted. And then the one thing I do remember that was really, really annoying, shall we say, was that we got a full bottle of Mad Dog thrown in our direction.
Right. What a waste.
And there was an altercation.
Yep.
And the long and short of it is that we ended up getting barred from the ferry.
Barred?
Not allowed to sail back to Gourock.
That's keep you on the island where the trouble was.
So that was the Calmac ferry, but there's, I don't know, a mile down the road there's the Western ferry. So the police escort that he mentions, we did have to get that from the Calmac a mile down the road to the Western ferry to get back to Gourock.
So you just had to leg it, didn't you?
Yeah, and it was pissing rain.
Oh.
And we were pretty drunk.
Funny games, eh?
So Dunoon's got a few memories, and we've still to go there this year. So
make sure Rangers on the plane. Thanks very much for your question, Sean. I appreciate it, mate. Next one up is for our president, Mr. Blakey, and it's straightforward: tequila, rosé or cider.
The two of them at the same time,
mixed in the one glass.
No, but if he's going to push me, then tequila rose, and he needs to get back on and said.
Well, I think we spoke to him last night, and he said never again would they touch it. I don't take Davey for a tequila rosé man anyway.
If you shut your eyes, it's just like yogurt.
Aye, tell me about it. Spooning it in. So the last question. Sorry, thanks Blakey for the question, mate. Last question is for a committee member, Michael McGoldrick. Where does the name Harold come from? I've asked this before and I know the answers. What you told me.
No, I don't actually know the reason for it, but it comes from Big Muncher.
Harold.
It was just obviously been about one of the sort of kind of in the early days of being on the committee or whatever, and they just come up with it one summer kind of night in the park.
It's Harold, and then it gets short to Harry Haw.
Do you maybe need to? I'm assuming Muncher will not come on here, but you maybe need to get him in a wee interview or something and ask him that question.
Aye, that's what we can do. We can do a wee one at the stadium and add it on to see if he probably doesn't even know. He's probably just forgot your name. Shouted Harold. First thing that came to him. Because when I first joined and everybody's Harry Haw and I'm like, what's that all about? But it's stuck now, innit? It's like everybody, know, when you hear the word Harold, you know who you're talking about.
It's definitely me, aye.
So thanks very much, Michael, for your question, and that wraps up the questions, mate. You'll be glad to hear there's nothing else there, nothing dodgy or Because I know you were a wee bit apprehensive of what sort of stuff was going on.
I wasn't too controversial. No.
Well, every podcast I do, there's the same. There's get a bit of stupid questions, and some of the ones that are pretty good, especially ones for Sean there, open up a bit of insight into stuff. So before we go on, going to go into a bit of mental health stuff. Obviously, Time to Tackle, who we always mention on here. They're fantastic work they do with their football places. They can go to Polish Shores and a Wednesday and then a Friday night you can go down to St Mirren if you need help with chatting and struggling with your mental health. Go and speak to these guys. Aaron and Siobhan will help you out. You can play a bit of football if you want. Cracking place. And also going to Untangle, who's the mental health stuff that I'm starting with. Mm-hmm. Going to start up, we'll try to get a hub and stuff, but we're going to start off as a talking group first. So invite guys down to come and speak for an hour or two and get things off their chest. Maybe a weekly thing, maybe bi-weekly. And it'll be in Barhead, so we'll get guys down that want to come and speak, get things off your chest, struggling with your mental health. There'll be people here that are going to help. And hopefully that'll be up and running within the next couple of weeks. And then we'll take it from there, going forward to what we can do to help people within the East Renfrewshire and beyond. So just going on about mental health, have you seen how that's changed at the club through the years? Because you've been at the club for a number of years. Do you see it's more open now? You're seeing people speaking about it more rather than the stigma it was for years? Yeah,
that is the word. There's always been that stigma, and I think there always probably will be to a greater or lesser extent. But not even just at the club, but you just see it kind of throughout social media and stuff now. The kind of highlighting of it and the importance of it, and I think the other one, obviously, the club, the kind of standout part of the club is the RMH, the connection there, and the mural that they've got on the new bar.
The strip as well.
And they're on the strip. So I think it's always really important to try and progress and highlight any of that sort of stuff in any way you can.
Do you look out for it as a manager? Do you see it when you're players or whatever?
Yeah, that's maybe different kind of ways. It's football or non-football. Obviously, if you maybe suspect that somebody's struggling, then a message really costs nothing.
Aye, absolutely. And I think your players will know if they want to come to you.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Your door's open, and Sean. And that goes for everybody at the club. If you're a fan or something in the area, you want to speak to anybody, the committee, I'm sure we'll be able to help. Don't suffer in silence, please. Come and speak to us. As I've said numerous times on here, DMs are open. Message Arthurlie pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're struggling, just reach out. We'll try and help you as much as we can. As I say, don't suffer in silence. It's obviously getting bigger and bigger. I mean, you're getting men coming out and speaking and talking, and as you say, it is everywhere. So it's good it's happening. It's going to get bigger and better. So moving on from that, we're going to talk about your groundsman role, because obviously the job you do is phenomenal, mate. I mean, and the work you put in is incredible. It takes a lot, especially at the start of the season. See when getting it prepared, and you were like, we need this, we need that, and I was sitting going, nah, I'm glad it's not me dealing with this. But did you learn that through your uncle and stuff that you were who were dealing with it? So you've picked this up early years of how to treat the pitch at the end of the season, starting of the season.
And other people come out with maybe mention this from time to time and say you qualified or anything like that and doing this sort of thing. No, it's just something that I've kind of took on, as we spoke about earlier. And yeah, pick certain things up for the guys that were doing it. Who weren't qualified either, though, to be fair. But
you learn as you go, and it's became your baby now, isn't it? It's like I'm dealing with this my way, and that's it.
And I think it's important to say this time, the plan, you seen the plan that I put into the club in the summer, but that doesn't really change, and it's not really changed in recent times. What has changed is, especially this year, is that the committee, the club's backed it.
Yep.
Backed the plan financially.
Well, we needed to get up the league.
Yeah, and people maybe listening or whatever will say, so it's been back financially, and you're still getting the comments like the polo game and whatnot, and it cuts up and all the rest of it. Nobody ever said that won't happen by getting it good at the start of the season, but it's given it the best chance to be as good as it can be.
Absolutely. Maybe if it wasn't done that way, the polo game wouldn't have went ahead. I mean,
yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. I mean, the hard work you've put in the summer to get it up to scratch. And I was doing a few times when I done the video with you doing your retractor and stuff.
That's one that the boys enjoyed in the chat, that's for sure. Well,
do you know what? It's like the unsung kind of heroes at the club that need to get a bit of recognition, especially with such a vital part of the park. And I've just noted on daffodils because they're a bugbear, aren't they? Because I keep putting them on social media things for you, and I've always they've got a wee. They like to grow on the pitch now and again, don't they?
Aye, so we're going to be coming into that time again soon when it comes to the spring.
Cannot wait. I like going and finding just wee ones just to point out to you.
So we got it sprayed for that this on, but maybe if I keep getting dogs reviews soon, maybe get it done again before the season's it.
I remember when the guy won the lottery and Blakey was standing me on the pitch for the 20 and I put the wee dandelion in. You take it, they're just subtle wee ones. They
just pop off everywhere.
They can be a bit a bugbear, aren't they? You see them and you're like,
aye, they're not my favourite.
Aye. And I'll continue today, so I'll keep the daffodils in there. In terms of coaching and stuff, do you see yourself moving forward and going elsewhere in a couple of years' time or something? Do you see yourself at a different level? Do you think you can test yourself at junior level or semi-professional level?
Well, it's actually something that myself and Sean have kind of spoke about in terms of the team that we've got just now. And this is no disrespect to anybody, and I do think that at times there's maybe a wee stigma for the amateur level. So when we first kind of come in, it was certainly in my mind that if there is that stigma, even maybe within the club or whatever, then we want to try and run it as professionally as we can and take away that stigma. First up, I think to an extent we've done that. In terms of moving on and looking at levels, what I was going to say, we have spoke about that we think we could probably go in and compete potentially in that 4th division of the West.
Aye.
Just looking at the teams, I say it's no disrespect, you'd always need to add 1 or 2. That's just a kind of hypothetical discussion we've had, though. It's not to say we're planning on doing that or anything like that. You're looking at where you think you stand as a team and what level you can compete at just now. Yeah, I think, as I said, without being able to get into the detail, I think with the leagues potentially amalgamating amateur level, it maybe gives us the opportunity to, well, I would say would be going up another level with an amateur, and then maybe should we be lucky enough or fortunate enough to do well there, then it's maybe something we would consider further down the line. Right. What about junior level? Would you leave off if somebody came in and went, I don't know, do you fancy a crack at this? I don't know. Are you too invested in Arthurlie? Mm-hmm. It would take probably a lot. Aye. But it's not, you never say never in football, but it would take a lot. Would you take Sean with you? If he wanted to come. I think you need to keep your staff together, don't you, when you're doing things like that? A lot of people do it. And you want to discuss, you want to get there, you want to talk about something, you want to highlight things or shout out to people? No, I think a lot of the stuff that you've brought up was in my mind. I'm obviously trying to work out coming in what's the discussion going to be, and a rally call to your players or anything. I mean, shirk someday or tell them to get pull their socks. No, the boys know the plans. make sure we're committed for the rest of the season. I think, but we've already spoke to them about that. Coming back after the new year with that kind of right big lull with the weather and then the Christmas period. But it's, let's say we've got 2 games before the split, and it's really all systems go to go and try and win the trophies like we spoke about.
Absolutely. Next guest, who would you like to see on and telling our story?
Oft. This is throughout the club.
Anybody at the club?
Well, I don't think he will, but obviously Sean could be next on and counteract it after me.
I did say at the time, the two used to come on together.
In the club, I don't know. I've heard a few of them saying about Rab Kerr, but is he not for it?
I think Rab
just
is
try to
for
think
it.
with the experience and maybe he'll have a few stories.
Everybody on. Do you know what I mean? It's
maybe somebody else for the committee. But
aye.
I'll let you name names on that one.
I certainly would like to have the execs on, or one or two of them on, just to get their story out there. If fans to see what their plans are for Arthurlie and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of stuff they can't discuss and stuff like that, but I mean, there's people like Ger who's got a history with Arthurlie, like playing with them and stuff and things like that. Do you know what I mean? And we mentioned Muncher as well. I mean, he's been about the club for. I mean, where flares and fish ties and stuff like that. I mean, how long?
And then I think if we had exhausted the kind of first team list, if you want to say, then there could be, it might maybe be a double act, maybe take them on, and if it was from the amateurs or whatnot.
I've said before, I'm going to go in and get under 20s and amateurs players on and stuff. I mean, do you know who would be good to hear an insight for you actually? Sarah. Because she's been around the club like 18 years or something. Do you know what I mean? She's had a sentence. She's seen everything. I mean, she knows inside out of the club. I mean, and it'd be good to get her on. It'd be my first female guest as well. Do you know what I mean? So who knows, Sarah? I might need to speak to you about that.
Right, that's the vote.
I'd just like to thank you for the committee. For the incredible efforts that you do for the club, mate. What you do with the amateurs and the pitch and everything, groundsman and the committee. Do you know what I mean? You're invested with them, as I've said 100 times, and keep it up, mate. We appreciate it. We appreciate your hard work. I'm happy you're at Arthurlie. I wouldn't want to see you go. So let's hope you're bringing trebles back to Arthurlie again.
Well, that's it. It's a good club. You look at the first team, the 20s and the amateurs. It's a good club to be at just now. Everybody's going in the right direction, and there's more success to come, definitely.
Absolutely. And I wish you all the best for the rest of the season, mate. I really do. I hope you can do it. So bring your trophies back. I'd just like to thank you for coming on the podcast, mate. It's been a pleasure. You've been a good guest. You've spoke honestly. Maybe get you on again sometime down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
we'll do.
All the best for the future, mate.
Cheers, Tim.
Thank you very much. Before I go, just thanks again, guys, for watching. That was season 2, episode 1. We'll let you know soon online who our next guest is going to be. Keep liking, sharing, subscribing. Get out there, pass on to your pals, everybody watch it and stuff like that. Oh, sorry. Forgot before we go, we're going on about how emotionally tied it is with players and your brothers, Munchie.
Oh, aye.
What's it like coaching your brother? Do you find it easy to, if you need to go and say to him about something, or give him a shuriken or blah blah?
It's usually just letting sometimes we'll travel to the training or games together, so sometimes it makes it easy. We can just have a discussion about if it's even team selection and all that sort of stuff.
So what if you need to leave him out or something like that?
But if we maybe need to fire a wee grenade in, then you'd expect obviously Munch as the captain as well, so you'd expect him to go and take some of that responsibility on as well.
Right. I just totally forgot. It just came back to me there at the last minute.
So. But in terms of being easy or hard, there's no real issue there. No.
Good stuff. Good to hear. As I was saying, like, share, subscribe, get it out there, take the podcast to the next level now, and thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Connelly.